Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilbourn from WhatCulture Football.
And I'm Jadon Nicholas from WhatCulture Football, here to bring you all of today's football news. Let's begin with a big bit of transfer talk. We're going to talk some more at the end of this video about a little roundup, shall we say. But right now, let's talk about Jadon Sancho, because according to sources from Borussia Dortmund, no less, it seems like the Jadon Sancho to Manchester United move could well be off. You see, we have had comments from Michael Zorc, who is the director of football over there, who basically said, and I will just quote what they have posted on their official Twitter account. He says, in a media roundup on the sidelines for the training, we plan with Jadon Sancho. He'll play for us next season. The decision is final. I think that answers all of the questions. Now, obviously, we have seen in recent weeks Jadon Sancho heavily linked with Manchester United. Apparently, there have been talks ongoing. Manchester United were frustrated with the pace of these talks because there's been sort of hurdles between them getting directly to the player and the club, and it seems like it's been a very slow process. But maybe it was stalling tactics, because as we can see here, it seems they aren't really keen to let go of Sancho, and I can't blame them. Adam Wilbourn.
No, I think he's obviously one of the best young players in the world right now, so it's understandable why they would want to keep on his services. I know people were speculating around when Sancho was organised to go to a training camp that was the deal dead in the water. This is football. You never say never, and I would defer to someone like Paul Scholes on this, who last night said, yeah, they're going to sell him. Dortmund are a selling club, in his words, and I think the only thing that's the stumbling block is, of course, the money, which is a very different situation to anything you normally be in. I mean, exorbitant transfer fees are 10 a penny, it seems, nowadays. But with the ongoing global bastard being as it is, it's all a bit up in the air. But Man United are Man United. Look, we've seen over the years, they haggle, and then when push comes to shove, there'll be some sort of resolution. I still think Jadon Sancho is going to be a Manchester United player next season as a neutral. I hope he's a Man United player next season. I would love to see him in the Premier League. And from a very biased perspective, as an England fan, I'd love to see him working with the likes of Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford ahead of football coming home next year.
Absolutely, but I would also counter that with, what if he doesn't get the chances at Man United that he's perhaps expecting? Because he's still a young guy coming through. And that is a team, certainly a front line, that's started to establish itself. But I'm not suggesting Jadon Sancho wouldn't be getting played every week. The guy's fantastic. But ultimately, there's definitely a question mark there. The grass being greener, and Borussia Dortmund are certainly a good team for bringing him through. Maybe one more year at Dortmund. But then again, what do you mean? A club telling us, the general public and the media, something that isn't true for another club to eventually sign their player? Unprecedented stuff.
Yeah, I think you ask any Man United fan and they will say that they need to sign not just anyone, but particularly Jadon Sancho to really kick on to that next level. I think they're going to get this deal done. I think there's going to be, haggling over it. But at the end of the day, when it's Manchester United, what's 20 million extra?
Well, you say that, but it's a tough time, my friend.
Oh. I'm sure it is. I'm sure they're really counting the pennies over at Manchester United. Let's move from one United to another, Newcastle United. I feel sorry for doing this to you as a Newcastle United fan.
Yeah, well, what's new, What's new?
Sky Sports News has been told that Mike Ashley remains in dialogue with the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, PIF, of course, and its partners with that takeover at Newcastle United. You may remember it just sort of ended very stunningly one afternoon a couple of weeks ago. Basically, it was said that the takeover was taking too long. There was all the issues with the Premier League checking over the fit and proper persons test, etc. But Mike Ashley's apparently 100% committed to finding a way to get the takeover back on. It just feels like even more drawn out heartache this for Newcastle United fans. There's been petitions written to the Premier League about why this has kind of happened. But I feel, it's my knowledge of Mike Ashley, that he's just trying to look busy almost until the season starts again.
Yeah, he's very good at this. I mean, we've seen this for quite a long time with Newcastle, where if it's not the Saudi fund, it's the Amanda Staveley takeover. If it's not the Amanda Staveley takeover, Peter Kenyon's coming to take over. All sorts of different things going on here with Newcastle United Football Club. I think the main problem is that, as a fan, obviously we would love to see a takeover happen. I don't know if this... I'll change my opinion on that. I do know that this isn't a takeover that I want to see because of, the very questionable nature of it all.
Yeah.
But Mike actually will want to sell. He's wanted to sell for a very long time, and if he can find a way of making it sound like things are still happening there and keeping interest in Newcastle, for him, all of this press is good press. At the end of the day, it means there's other clubs thinking, well, maybe they are a hot property. If he can keep the valuation in the general eyes of the public up, then maybe, just maybe, someone else might come in, even if indeed the Saudi deal doesn't continue or doesn't come back, shall we say.
Yeah, I don't see this being resurrected, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I think this. I'm a big fan of banter era threads on Twitter, and this feels like just another column in Newcastle's where they potentially could get relegated next season. You ask any Newcastle United fan, they are very worried about next season with the lack of investment, and obviously with Ashley getting his head turned. Why would he want to chuck more money at a club that he thinks he's probably just going to be selling? This has been the issue for the last 5-10 years. It feels like. Probably bad idea for me at my socially distanced birthday at the weekend to raise a can to Chesterfield's successful takeover whilst surrounded by Newcastle United fans, although it's slightly different.
Certainly not. We don't discriminate against the clubs who are getting that takeover. So we're not like that. Well, I'm certainly not. Yes, we'd like one, but I'm still happy Chesterfield got theirs, and here's hoping Chesterfield versus Newcastle in just a few short years. Only because Newcastle have come down to your level,
exactly.
Probably is how it's going to happen.
Welcome to the National League, brother.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah. Well, let's move across to, obviously, Newcastle Premier League. Let's move across to the Scottish Premier League, shall we? And talk about one of what I can imagine might be a few stories crop up this year. In particular, with all of the, obviously we can't say the terminology, so we will call it the ongoing global bastard and all of the rules that have been put into place to try and help avoid any more outbreaks of said ongoing global bastard. Well, we saw already in the Scottish Premier League there was an issue with the Aberdeen side who went out for a drink to a bar in Aberdeen, which happened to just be on the verge of a big spike and going back into lockdown for a drink. A lot of the players obviously then came into question because their availability for the club to play the fixtures. There was also a question about could they play that fixture given the distances that have been set in place. A lot of things going on here, a lot of moving parts. As you can imagine, it's going to be a mad year for all of this as people try to sort of adhere to the rules. But, my word, Celtics player, and I'm going to have to check for this, Bolingoli he was on a trip to Spain, went away, came back, did not quarantine, and then featured in Celtic's match at the weekend against Kilmarnock, that 1-1 draw that they had, and has obviously since come forward and explained that he has not quarantined, and therefore, as a result, that has put like every player at risk who kind of come into contact with. I know that might seem like being a bit extreme, but that is as literal as the case can be. Anybody he then comes into contact with is a potential case waiting to happen. So as a result of this, first of all, I will say he has issued a statement on this. This is coming from BBC, who basically says, I am guilty of a major error of judgment. I know what I did was wrong, and I know that I must now deal with the consequences. Well, those consequences could well be that the Scottish Government might end up intervening and pausing the Scottish Premier League already. We haven't even barely started to back up, and that is something they are genuinely having talks about right now, because this is the second incident in as many weeks, and this is not good, Mr. Wilbourn.
No, it's a bloody shambles, this. Look, rules are rules. Whether you like them or not, like you say, there's a set format in place for whether people have been travelling or whether they test positive or whatever, and it's already gone to pot in the SPL. Like you say, Aberdeen players testing positive, games getting called off, and now this. It's really, really bad. Look, we're all annoyed and we want things to get back to normal as quickly as possible, but unless people adhere to these rules, it's just not going to happen. And people thinking that there are exceptions to the rule are the reason why we keep seeing these returns in cases and spikes and what have you. It's a bad look. Right, let's move on and talk about the Europa League. It is the month of mad European football action, of course. Last night saw Inter Milan and Manchester United progress to the semi-finals of the Europa League. Man United beating Copenhagen 1-0 after FC Copenhagen 1-0 after extra time, a Bruno Fernandes penalty, winning it for them there. They looked a bit shaky first half, I have to say, but they had a whole boatload of chances. They hit the post, they hit the crossbar. The goalkeeper was on sensational form for Copenhagen. Johnson, I think his name was. and they had a couple of goals disallowed. Eventually, Man United just getting over the line there, as I said, with that Bruno Fernandes penalty after a foul on Martial. Inter Milan defeating Bayer Leverkusen almost 2-1. Romelu Lukaku continuing his insane run of scoring in the Europa League. Barella getting the other goal for Inter, and Havertz pulling a goal back after 24 minutes. All the goals in the first half in that game. Inter Milan looking really good as well. They got a penalty, but then they got VAR, etc., etc. Regardless, Inter Milan go through to the semi-finals. They will face the winner of tonight's game between Shakhtar Donetsk and FC Basel. United will face either Wolverhampton Wanderers, who play tonight, or Sevilla. So it could be an all-English semi-final potentially. Exciting times in the Europa League. I think most fans, aside from my friends who are Wolverhampton Wanderers fans, would love to see Inter Milan and Man United. Conte against Solskjaer, Ashley Young and Romelu Lukaku against, well, United.
This is it, man. I mean, the story writes itself, doesn't it? If we find a way, and that's no knock on Wolverhampton Wanderers, by the way. I would quite like to see them in a final as well if they can get there, because that team is brilliant. They're a team that's on the rise, certainly, particularly in the Premier League, but also if they can do it in Europe, fantastic stuff there. I mean, Manchester United versus Inter Milan is surely the big money tie everyone's looking at for that final. Although you wouldn't want to rule out the other teams who are in there either, to be honest, because they're there for a reason at this stage, and you will find that they won't go down without a fight, I'm sure. But I mean, like you say, Lukaku returning, Alexis Sanchez, Ashley Young, all players who are there and could potentially feature in a game against that club, prove themselves that they've still got it, Lukaku in particular. I'd love to see it. You love to bloody see it, don't you? And football's all about narratives, and that is one I would like to see.
And I love the mad knockout way they're playing this tournament now. The same with the Champions League, of course. It's great stuff.
It's just, to be honest, I was spent ages looking, thinking, why aren't they doing this? And then I remembered, obviously, of course, it's going to be the change of rules. But I actually kind of like it. I like that sort of one and done. This is like when they introduced the golden goal rule into the World Cup. It's like the heartbreak that can come with that one game. But alas, let's move on and talk about some transfers, shall we? Get a quick roundup of the other transfers going on. Obviously, we've already mentioned Jadon Sancho, Manchester United deal in question. And there's a few we've got that are definitely done and over the line. We've mentioned it already in a few previous videos. But Pierre-Emile Højbjerg has completed his medical at Tottenham. That's according to Sky Sports. There's a £15 million move on the table there for him. Great signing for them. And going the other way, it looks like Kyle Walker-Peters might be making his move to Southampton, a permanent one. He was obviously on loan there last season. Looking like potentially £12 million Tottenham could be getting for him, although personal terms have yet to be agreed there. Liverpool, as we mentioned yesterday, have completed the signing of Kostas, and I'm going to butcher that surname again, Kostas Tsimikas from Olympiacos for £11.75 million. That's again according to Sky Sports. That deal is done. When you see them in the shirt signing the paper, it's always a bit of a relief, especially as a Newcastle fan, and we've seen it. It is done. But two interesting ones to talk about now. David Silva, of course, as we know, is leaving Manchester City at the end of the season. He will be staying with them and, of course, playing in the Champions League with them as far as they get. But after that, it's looking like, and quite a few sources are reporting this could be a destination, but Corriere dello Sport are reporting that perhaps David Silva could be expected to go to Lazio to play after he leaves Manchester City. Same colour kit, I guess. Maybe he just likes the colour and he's going with that. Also, though, what a great signing for them that would be, because Lazio side who performed pretty well this year, and that might just be a little extra piece to a jigsaw that they might have been missing if that indeed does happen. And finally, fascinating one, this. Daniel Sturridge, he has a name you've probably forgotten about in recent years. He wants to return to the Premier League. He sat down for an exclusive interview with Sky Sport and has essentially said he wants to come back. He had previously been, where had he been, Adam Wilbourn? If you had to guess.
If you'd have given, you told me this beforehand, so I know now. But if you'd have given me a million years, I would not have guessed Trabzonspor.
Trabzonspor in the Turkish league, he had been at indeed. But fascinatingly, and I know it's just, I say just the Turkish league, he had actually scored 7 goals in 16 appearances. So signs of maybe the old Daniel Sturridge, I guess. However, that did not end well. His contract was terminated mutually in March after, he was handed a 4-month ban, actually. Basically, he got caught out breaching the FA rules regarding to betting, as he kind of tipped off his brother to bet on him and a potential transfer move to Sevilla, it seems, which, as we all know his history and where he's ended up. Doesn't even seem like a good. But anyway, that's irrelevant at this point. He has said he would like to come back. He's a free agent as it stands. He's probably eyeing the new season in the Premier League, and he says he has unfinished business in the Premier League. Could a side snap him up? Dear God, it's probably going to end up being Newcastle, because that always sounds like something that will happen, and he'll get injured within the first couple of weeks. Mr. Wilbourn, your thoughts on these transfers?
Great signings for Tottenham and Liverpool. First of all, we kind of discussed them in the past. I'm really intrigued by David Silva to Lazio. I think we always say, the Italian league is still a great league. It's not a step down. It's just a different pace, and I think that might suit someone like David Silva. And like you say, we did a whole thing on Juventus, well worth checking out, surrounding Andre Pirlo being the new manager there. But I think he could be the real difference maker for Lazio. Like you said, they were one of the main contenders. They just sort of fell off towards the end of the season in Serie A. But yeah, Sturridge is an interesting one. I've always really liked him. I always rated him as a striker. I think he's been sensational. He's played. Look at the list of clubs he's played for: Chelsea, City, Liverpool, Bolton. He was an absolute world-class player for them. So I think he can offer that to a club. Obviously, the issue you have with that is it's a big old gamble. Yes, he's got proven Premier League pedigree. Easy for me to say, but he is injury prone. But I wouldn't rule him out signing for a lower mid-table, relegation threatened club. If you need to, they always say that when you get promoted, you need that player who's going to score you 10, 15, 20 goals in a season. He almost guarantees that. It's just whether or not he can stay healthy. Why on earth did he do that stupid bloody getting his brother to gamble on stuff? Is if footballers don't have enough money? I don't understand it. But still, personally, I'd like to see him back in the Premier League. I still rate him, as I said. But let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories that we've discussed in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Football, wherever you get your podcast from, for daily football podcasts if you're out and about on the go. You can also let us know your thoughts on everything today at WhatCultureFC on Twitter. And watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Adam Nicholas at
It's Adam Nicholas, and you can also follow Adam Wilbourn at
Adam Wilbourn. We will be back later on today with It's All Kicking Off. But for now, my thanks to Adam Nicholas. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.